Hey my beautiful people, how's it going? Alright, I realized I don't think I've gotten a video out like for Pride yet. And so I'm hoping I get this out on time. We will see. But we're gonna do some queer memes. I got this from the LGBT meme subreddit, all of these. Any pronouns users, people trying to misgender them. This is such a funny event and I see it happen all the time online. Or it happens to like a lot of people who use like she, they, or he, they. People will be like, you're a she. And they're like, well, that is half of it, yes. I think it's just an example of how people don't quite understand how pronouns work and how that you can always tell people can't really always tell, to look at somebody and be like, these are your pronouns, and then they turn around and they're like, yeah, those are my pronouns, and then they're like, oh, well then these are your pronouns, and they're like, those are still also my pronouns. How it feels when you're the only gay person at work. The Fanta among the Diet Coke. My life is actually the opposite. I feel like almost everyone at my job is queer in some way or some facet, and it's fantastic. It's also nice because you know, like, the straight people who are there are allies, because how else would you have this job? There's just no way. And it's so nice because I feel like work is a place where you spend so much of your life. It almost becomes like a second home because of just the sheer amount of time you're spending there a week. And I definitely feel very like blessed and privileged to have a space where I can speak about myself in a way that I'm not scared or worried or concerned that it's gonna like affect my work life or like my job in general. I just don't have to have that concern where I work, and I am very thankful for that, and it's a privilege because a lot of people do. I know that these are queer memes, but I think they're like a great conversation starter too. There are a lot of people who have to go to work and have to hide their identity and have to hide who they are simply because of the fact that there is so much homophobia and transphobia in this world. And I think that's extremely unfortunate, and I just want to say, if you are at a workplace where you can be yourself and live your life, recognize that that is an amazing thing. And if you're somebody who's not, I hope that one day you get to experience it, because it is truly amazing and beautiful. Republicans, Military Family Month, November. Month of the Military Caregiver, May. Month of the Military Child, April. National Military Appreciation Month, May. Warrior Care Month, November. Never celebrating any of them literally ever. Why don't the troops get a month? This happens every Pride Month, and I feel like I talk about it every Pride Month because it's something that people just can't seem to get through their head. The list is actually far more extensive than this one. I'll pull it up. There are so many months dedicated to some facet of the military, and there are so many days too. So it's not just like, oh, they get one day, but these queer people get a whole month. No, like they're getting like large portion of the year. Also, like so many places you can go to and get like a military discount. So there are ways to like literally have appreciation for the military every single day in a lot of areas, especially like if you're in the South or something like that. People will constantly be thanking you for your service if you are part of the military or were and have something that show that. There is like daily appreciation for people in the military, and queer people are like, oh my gosh, it's Pride Month, and everybody's like, oh my god, the military gets nothing. The military, oh my god, the military. And on top of that, there are queer people in the military. Just because there was a don't ask, don't tell law in place for so long doesn't mean that those people weren't queer. And now that those laws are lifted, which by the way, didn't happen very long ago, very recent still, we are now like able to actively see people in the military that are queer, but a lot of people still don't come out because it's a safety hazard, because they are not treated well. And this doesn't just go for queer people, this goes for women in the military too. There's a fantastic documentary, can't remember the name of it. If I can think of it, I'll put it on screen, but it talks about like all the hardships that women face in the military. I actually had a trans man come up on my For You page the other day talking about his experiences in the military and how they refuse to give him the correct gender marker.
In the Army, there is a 1-year period of where you start testosterone, and then after your 1-year mark, they give you your gender marker changed to male. Well, during that year period, they are supposed to give you all male standards. That means shaving, dress, uniform, PT standards, and height and weight standards. I should have all of those. They chose to be absolute assholes and give me all female standards. They gave me 0 male standards. And females have 0 regulations for beards. If they had just given me male standards, I would not have a beard. They were supposed to give me male standards and did not. So therefore, I'm having this on my face to prove to them that they cannot shove female down my throat. And this could have been easily prevented if they just done what they were supposed to do.
I think that's an example of how these people are treated in the military, is they're just not appreciated. And when people who are not a part of the community sit here and say these things, they are directly taking away from queer people that are in the military by being like, well, queer people don't matter. What about military? Queer people in the military do matter. Sorry that you just don't think so because your worldview is so small. Anyways, that's my rant. Dating/marriage are expressions of one's romantic orientation. Yup. Which is different to sexuality, which is sexual attraction. Yup. The two are often conflated, but they are not the same. That makes sense to me. So talking about one's partners refers to romanticism and isn't sexual nor inappropriate. Gay relationships shouldn't be discussed around kids, it's too sexual. I've been saying this for so long. Oh my God. When people try to sit there and be like, queer people are sexual, maybe behind closed doors when I'm with my partner, the fuck? I've said it on this channel before and I'll say it again. Holding hands is not sexual. Walking down the street with your partner is not sexual. Having a wedding is not sexual. Existing is not sexual. When you look at a queer person and you're like, ew, that's so sexual and gross, that's you being perverted. You're the one that's being weird if you're looking at a queer person just existing and being like, overly sexual, too much. You're the weird one. You're the one that's thinking about what I do in the bedroom when I'm not showing it to you. In no way have I consented for you to look at me in the bedroom, for you to know what I do in the bedroom, unless I am actively telling you and in a conversation that you want to be having. I'm not gonna do that. It drives me absolutely bonkers. Me sitting here, not sexual whatsoever, unless you as a person decide to start adding sexual elements to just looking at me. It's not my fault. That's not my problem. That's a you thing. That makes you weird, not me for just sitting here. And the whole idea of like, well, we can't have it around our children. Children understand it so easily. What people don't understand is like, children are little sponges, right? They absorb knowledge. When you look at a child and you start telling them, this is wrong, because God said so, or because you don't like it, or because morally you just disagree, whatever it is, you're the one that's starting to confuse that kid because then they're like, well, why is that morally wrong? Well, why this? Why that? Whereas you could just look at your kid and be like, yeah, sometimes guys like guys, because it's easier to understand love than it is to understand hate that has no actual like standing point. It is so much easier just to understand because it makes them happy versus because I don't like it, because I think it's icky, because the world doesn't like it, because God doesn't like it. Like that is so much harder to understand, truly. Beautiful cat with homophobia. The first time I saw this, I was laughing, I was giggling, giggle fest. This cat truly does not look like it has a homophobic bone in it. If you don't get the joke, it's supposed to be heterochromia, but this cat has never been homophobic in its life. This cat is sporting pride colors in its eyes. Also, look at that soft little face. Okay, it looks a little stunned in this one. Never mind. Second photo, terrified. Me when I see gay person. Me when two gay love. Look at that. I'm making memes of my own now and they're far worse. Ha 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 ha, these snowflakes are triggered by everything. And then we have a long list of things that really grind some people's gears. I will just truly never understand this. People just existing is something that other people dedicate their entire lives to tearing down. It's like when you go to Pride and you see those people with like the sinner signs and stuff like that. Like you're dedicating your entire life to being like, I hate that. And then you turn around and you're like, oh my God, queer people are triggered so easily. When you're actively like doing things to try to take away queer people's rights, when you're dedicating your life to trying to ruin somebody else's life, you're like, oh my God, they're so triggered. Do you know what you're doing? Like, do you see your actions? If I walked up and I decked somebody in the face, somebody I don't even know, I just walk up to them, I deck them in the face, and then they turned around and they were like, what the fuck? Or tried to like strike me back or something. And I looked at them and I was like, oh my God, you're so triggered. Who do you think's in the wrong there? I would be in the fucking wrong. That person would have every right to react to what I just did because I unpromptedly was just the worst person I could be in that moment. So it's just, it's wackadoodle, bringing it back, to look at that and be like, they're so triggered. I know all I'm trying to do is take away their rights. I know all I'm trying to do is align them with the worst skull of the earth. I know all I'm trying to do is say that they should probably die. And then I'm actively trying to make it happen with my voting. But they're so triggered. Oh my gosh, the Bud Light, that whole thing sent me. Like it was really sad to watch. And I think I have a video I made on it. I'll try to link it if I remember. But the idea of a can of Bud Light ruining so many people's lives for like a month It was all they thought about, all they talked about, enraged them. By the way, it was a singular can of Bud Light. It wasn't even being sold in stores. It was sent to one specific content creator, which was Dylan Mulvaney, a trans woman, if you didn't know, was sent a Pride Bud Light. And everybody lost their shit and freaked out before they even had the facts. They were like, "You're gonna be trying to sell me to gay stuff." And it's like, homie, it was just one can. Also, I don't think it would ruin your life if you saw a rainbow on a beer can. You could still buy the regular one if you really wanted to. That whole thing was just so, like, I already knew transphobia in this country was bad, but it was eye-opening to another degree just to see that something as small as a content creator being sent a can of Bud Light would enrage people to the point of threats of physical violence against trans people all across the country, which probably shouldn't shock me based on how a lot of these people vote, but it still was, like, over something so small, eye-opening to how bad it is. Homophobic kids, when they realize they're gay, my only regret is that I spent so much time on the wrong side. That's a good one. It's like sad, but it's also funny. I don't know. Internalized homophobia gotta be a really hard thing to deal with. I think that when I realized I was gay, I didn't even know what the word was yet. So it was just a lot of me, like, trying to figure out what was going on. And I came out at 13, like, I came out very young. Like, the second I knew what it meant and I had that, like, way to vocalize it, I really did. Like, I mean, there was like like probably a year and a half where I knew that I didn't come out, just because I used to watch that 70s show before school, and right after that the 100 Club would come on, which was like a Christian talk show, and they would often, like, have very homophobic talking points, so it kind of, like, scared me into not coming out for a little bit. But I did come out pretty quickly, a year and a half. So I feel very lucky that my battle with internalized homophobia was pretty short-lived, and the reason for that being is I was gonna go to an all-girls sleepover, and I felt like I was lying to my mom by not telling her that I liked girls. So I called her on the phone when she was at the store, and I just wanted to tell her that I had something to talk to her about when she came home, but the second she picked up the phone, I just went, "I'm gay." Because I cannot lie. Something about me, I cannot lie. I cannot keep things to myself that I know people are supposed to know, or in my brain people are supposed to know. So it just, like, came tumbling out. I do feel very lucky that I didn't have to fight that for very long. I think there's points in everybody's life where they probably fight it even when they're out. Like, there was definitely a time where maybe I was younger and I was scared and I was like, I wish I was straight. But again, because I came out so young and I discovered myself so young, I feel like I didn't have to battle that as much as a lot of people do, and I'm very thankful for that. And my heart definitely goes out to the people who do have to battle with it for so long and who do act out in homophobia because they're so scared of being themselves. I think it's super unfortunate, and I think it sucks, because if the world was just a little nicer, people wouldn't have to react that way. They wouldn't be as scared, and internalized homophobia wouldn't be nearly what it is if people just were more accepting in general. I'm drinking an energy drink right now, if you can't tell by my many tangents. ADHD and energy drinks really, because, like, I know some people are like, oh, well, if you drink an energy drink, it'll make you calmer. It just makes me talk even faster and articulate my thoughts even faster. Like, they just come pouring. So, are you, like, gay or something? What pride flag is that? It's the Nintendo Switch. Okay, I think Mario Kart was, like, a great poll, but I think Animal Crossing or Stardew Valley would have been an even better one. Or maybe is that more the sapphic specifically? Because I definitely own both, and so does my girlfriend. So, when my girlfriend and I first started dating, we're long distance, she lives in Canada, we would do dates on Animal Crossing where we would go to her island and we would watch the stars together in Animal Crossing. It was really cute. We're about to start our Stardew farm. I'm very excited. We were holding off because we're waiting for 1.6 to come to the Switch, but we just have no idea when that's gonna happen at this point. I'm hoping soon, but so we're just gonna start it and then use that as practice for her to play Stardew on the Switch, and then we're gonna restart when 1.6 comes out. Fun date idea for my long distance people out there. Homophobic transphobes want a gay trans person confused screaming. This reminds me of, like, the transphobic people who are like, this is just being gay with extra steps, as if people would, like, change their gender in order just to date another gender. It sounds ridiculous even coming out of my mouth. Anyways, I want to use this as a chance to say, fuck TERFs. If you're a TERF, go the fuck away. I don't like you. When I talk about queer memes, I'm talking about it for the whole community. TERFs stands for turds eating rectum feces. TERF. That was gross. That's crazy that just came out of my mouth. Why does this, oh my gosh, that's crazy. It says dining on my phone and it's a picture of my cat jumping out of the bathtub. I hope you don't mind that I'm using this queer memes video as a way to just actually hang out with y'all today. A little hint at what dwells at the heart of Pride Month. Pride Month, ride on, ride on, ride on, ride on. I want ride-ons to be the symbol of the masculine queer community, of the bears and the butches everywhere. It just makes sense to me. Ride on, I guess. Straights, when they hear the word cis, they think it's a heterosexual slur. Oh my gosh, it drives me crazy. I'm like, guys, it's literally just a medical term for you're not trans. And then they're like, well then just call us women and then call them trans women. It's if you're in a space that is medical where they need to know, you can say you're cisgender. It's gonna help differentiate. It's okay, it's okay. And if you're in a queer space and they're trying to differentiate, it's okay. If you're somebody and you look at me, if we're in a conversation and I refer to you as cis and you're like, hey, I really don't like that, can you just not call me that? I wouldn't go out of my way to make you uncomfortable on a personal level, but to sit there and be like, never use the word cis for anyone when it's a literal medical term, shut the fuck up. I'm not gonna go out of my way to call you something that makes you uncomfortable. Just like I wouldn't do that to a queer person. I'm not gonna go out of my way to make you uncomfortable. But as an umbrella term, to treat it as if it's like this horrendous, horrific thing when it literally just means exactly what you are. Some cis women are like, call me a natural woman because that's what I am. It's like, so a cis woman, why do you have to put it in a term that like is almost offensive, like borderline being like, I'm not like those women because I'm a natural woman. It's like, why are you having to use like a term that is gonna trying to make somebody else uncomfortable when you could just go with like the literal logical existing term for what you need, which is a cis woman. It's not a slur, it's a medical fucking term. It just grinds my gears. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Happy Pride Month. I really hope this is out by Pride Month. This should be my next video out. I'm really hoping, haha, out. If you want any of my descriptions, nope, any of my socials will be in the description, and I will talk to y'all later. Bye guys.